When you get to be part of a partnership that's really working, whether in your work or in your home, it can feel like such a miracle. Like you get to be who you are, bring your skills to a joint project, and let the other person fill in the gaps on the stuff you're not as great at. You do not have to do it all on your own. You have a partner in making your dreams turn into a reality. And when this is really clicking, it can feel so comforting. But then there might be a shift. One of you starts wanting something a little different. And the whole enterprise of what you do together, who you are to each other, can come apart. That is basically what happened between Jay Duplass and his brother Mark Duplass. They bonded over movie making as kids and landed in Hollywood together and got attention for shorts and then small indie films like The Puffy Chair. Then they got real budgets and co-wrote and co-directed a string of hits. Do you know that movie Jeff, Who Lives at Home with the actor Jason Segel? It came out in 2011 and was one of the last movies Jay Duplass made with his brother before their shift started to happen. Mark Duplass, who was on the show about a year ago last summer, kept getting more and more acting work. And Jay, the older brother, wasn't sure what it meant for his career. Jay is on the show this week, and he's got a new movie called The Baltimorons releasing across the country. And I have to tell you, I love this film. It doesn't have stars you'll immediately recognize, but I think if you appreciate rom-coms with memorable characters like Moonstruck, or stories about people who are a little down on their luck like the TV show Somebody Somewhere, you will love this movie. And Jay made it without his brother. Due to some tricky union rules, the only way he was able to make this film was to formally end his directing partnership with his brother Mark. And this week on the show, Jay tells me how difficult that decision was. And he takes me back to the years between about 2012 and now, how even though he had some success, including being on the TV show Transparent, he looks back and feels like his creative identity was adrift. And when he finally decided to direct a movie on his own, he wasn't sure he could do it.
This is my first movie without Mark and my first movie in 14 years. And Hollywood is not what have you done lately. I needed to make a movie that couldn't be stopped or I was going to die.
This is Death, Sex, and Money. The show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. I'm Anna Sale.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Insurance may all seem the same on the surface, but having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like getting a speech from your third cousin's +1 at your wedding when you needed a speech from your best man. You wouldn't settle for just any speech, so don't settle for just any insurance. When it comes to getting the help you need, State Farm is the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The Baltimorons is a movie directed by Jay Duplass and co-written by Jay and its lead actor, Michael Strassner. Michael's character, Cliff, is a sketch comedian who recently got sober, and he told his fiancée that he wouldn't do comedy anymore because he wasn't sure he could perform and be funny without drinking. And then, on Christmas Eve, Cliff needs some emergency dental work. He walks into a door frame and knocks his tooth out. And he hits it off with his middle-aged, no-nonsense dentist named Dee Dee, played by Liz Larsen. Through a series of mishaps, the two of them end up spending the entire day together.
I've got a pocket full of cash and I'm hungry as a bull. I'm taking a dinner and I'm not taking no for an answer.
No. Thank you.
Come on, you got me out of 2 jams today. Let's get a bite.
I have plans.
Okay, real quick before you go, I have a little confession. I overheard you talking to your daughter in the office, and I know you don't have plans.
Why do you want to have dinner with me? But you're already late for a party.
Because we're having fun.
We are.
Aren't we?
The actor you heard there, Michael Strassner, is not yet a household name. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page. He does have an Instagram account where he posts funny videos, and that's how he connected with Duplass, without the help of agents or managers.
Michael Strassner was a phenomenon that started prancing across my Instagram in the early days of the pandemic. I am a heavy curator of Instagram, so I only follow comedy.
Uh-huh.
And so, especially during the pandemic, that's when I really started just being like, okay, it's only going to be fun. It's only going to be comedy. And here comes Michael Strassner dancing and prancing his way across my Instagram. And, you know, you first see him and you see what looks like someone who played a few years for the 1978 Chicago Bears.
Yeah, his sturdy
You know
build.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sturdy stock. But the tenderness and, dare I say, feminism and sweetness and vulnerability of his posts were also incredible. And I think that kind of sweetness and that kind of vulnerability and authenticity coupled with the struggles of life and comedy, that's what I'm always after. And so I just followed him and enjoyed his stuff. And apparently he sent me a DM minutes after I followed him. But
Aw.
I was, you know, at that time approaching 50 years old. I actually don't really know how Instagram works.
You didn't reply.
I didn't reply for 6 or 7 months. And maybe 6 or 7 months later, I think someone told me, you know, how do you deal with your DMs? And I was like, what is a DM? So I like opened up. Look, I'm not a real strong social presence. You know, I don't have a ton of followers or whatever. But, you know, I'm a semi-famous person, I guess. So I click on DMs and I'm like, holy shit. There's
You
no
are not
way.
curating what happens to you in that day.
No,
when you-
I saw it and I was like, well, there's not even time to curate this. And for some reason, I just kind of clicked through and scrolled and I saw Michael and I was like, oh, he sent me a message. And it was hey, I'm a huge fan of you. I've read your book. I'm making a short film. I could really use some advice. So I started a brief Instagram conversation, like any good love story in the early 2020s, starts on Instagram. And, you know, he was making a short film. It was very autobiographical. He was really putting himself out there. I helped him cast a person in it. And he sent me the script, and I thought it was good, and I thought it could be better. And so I invited him over to my house.
Aw.
And I remember hearing a car pull up to my house, and I looked out the window, and it was a broken down Jetta, and he got out shirtless and was wiping himself down in the street with a towel. And when I, you know, actually met him in person, I was like, so you were just naked like 30 seconds ago? And he said, yeah, my air condition doesn't work, and this body does not stay cool. And I was like, yeah, totally understandable. And that was the first time I was like, boy, is that a good bit to put in a movie. Giant guy driving around LA in a tiny broken down Jetta who has no air conditioning, who is topless the whole time.
You're like, this is my next leading man. Yes.
Absolutely. So I helped him with his short film. He was very sweet about it.
So then you start making the Baltimorons together. You're working on this script.
Yeah, I mean, I think the predecessing scenario to making a movie with him, I was never intending to make a movie with him. I was just helping a young person try to make better art, you know? Really, the preceding factors of the Baltimorons is kind of a huge story for me. And I don't know if you want to hear it all.
Lay it on me, man.
Okay. So, listen. I saw Raising Arizona in 1987. This is how far I'm going to fucking back up.
It turns out that in order to understand the origin story of the Baltimorons, you really do need to understand Jay's origin story as a director, which begins all the way back in the 1980s in the South.
This is where it starts. I am a kid in New Orleans who loves art, loves movies, doesn't know how they're made. They're just piped in over cable. Mm-hmm. And I see Raising Arizona in 1987. It's the first time I'm like, oh, I think I know what a director is. I think I can sense something about this person's personality by just watch. They're not on screen. You know what I mean? This is like a 13-year-old's concepting.
Wait, tell me about that. Because for me, I can remember watching Raising Arizona, and I was like, who are these people? What? The baby? How they, you know, I mean, I was like, I remember my mind being blown. I was a little younger than you, but I did not
The protagonists are stealing a baby. Let's be clear.
And I was like, is this funny? Is this horrible? Like, what is this? But you're like, this is giving me what I'm thinking about is who are the people who put
it's
this
the
together.
first time I even thought about somebody directed something. I had no clue. So I see this movie, and then I see an article in the newspaper that two brothers directed this movie, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I see those two brothers' picture, and one of them kind of looks like me, and one of them kind of looks like Mark, my brother, Mark Duplass. It was the first time that I was like, oh my God, is that something people could do? But it still seemed very out of my reach. So this is just to say that the seed was planted that since 1987, I have always wanted to be the Coen brothers 2.0 with my brother Mark.
So Jay and Mark did start making movies together. And in 2005, their film The Puffy Chair got into the Sundance Film Festival and won the Audience Award at South by Southwest. Those successes led to more movies starring bigger name actors. Their movie Cyrus stars Jonah Hill in a role that helped him break out of his usual comedy comfort zone. Meanwhile, Mark was not just writing and directing these movies along with his brother Jay. He was also acting in a lot of them. And that led to other opportunities for him.
We're living the dream. And then Mark becomes a famous actor. That motherfucker becomes a goddamn famous actor, right? How dare you get famous on me?
In 2009, Mark landed what might be one of the most coveted jobs in show business. He was suddenly a cast member on a sitcom, The League, on FX. It was a show about a group of friends who play fantasy football together, and the two brothers had nothing to do with writing or directing it.
And he starts acting a ton.
Uh-huh.
And also, Mark is the best creative producer I know on this planet. He's really good at the 1,000-foot view, you know? And that's how we would operate a lot. Mark was very outward-facing. He was an actor. He'd talk to agents. He'd have like relationships with studios. I was in the trenches trying to make a perfect piece of art, you know?
I see.
We both did both things, but that was kind of the split of duties, right? So Mark gets really, really busy. And, you know, and at this point, we're trying to make a living. We're just starting to like have kids. And we're like, okay, now we got to make real money. None of this $15,000 a year and, you know, living in the same house in South Austin and eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day, you know? Like we're married, we got kids coming. It's time. We gotta strike while the iron's hot. Mark was already striking. He was making tons of money as an actor. And I was floundering and trying to get him to come make a movie with me. And there was a moment where I was like, there was a movie on the table that I could have made. And I was like, if you can't make it with me, I think I need to make this movie. And it was very, very upsetting to both of us.
How old were you at that point, and how old was he when you said that?
I'd say I was probably about 40 and he was probably 37.
Uh-huh. And so Mark, famous actor, has his older brother tell him, look, I need to make a movie. But
I need to make this movie.
I need to make this movie. I need to do it when you're not available.
Yeah, I need, like basically the whole thing was like, I want to make it with you, but if you can't make it with me, this movie goes away. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's also crazy complications, like the Directors Guild of America has a forced pairing. If you pair as a director, you sign a contract, you only direct together. You can't direct separately. It's like a whole deal.
Oh.
But if you direct separately, your partnership comes apart. You can never direct together again.
Why not?
It all goes back to old Hollywood. Let me tell you a little story.
well, that helps me understand the
days.
stakes. No, you don't. We don't have to go that far back.
Huge stakes.
Because you're saying if I work without you, I want to work without you because I need to work without you this one time.
Yeah, I don't want to work without you. I want to make this. I have to make this movie because this is my livelihood and this is who I am. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I don't make this movie, like the momentum dies. I have to like leave Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like,
you thought your career was at stake.
Yeah, it always feels like that. And it was very hard for me because Mark was getting all these other opportunities. Like, you know, like Mark went to frickin' Cannes with Lynn Shelton and Josh Leonard. And I was like, that must be cool. And what'd you have to do for that? You did 15 days of acting? Shit, that sounds great. So this is getting long-winded, but...
well, I think the point is, I think it's helping me understand your feeling. You're like, we're this partnership, and your brother has this whole other part of his career that's taking off and affecting your ability to take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah, and it's not even a partnership. It's like Mark is my soulmate. You know, Mark was my soulmate for 20 plus years, and this was starting to come apart because we were married, and our wives were like, hey, there's a primary relationship here, and it's the person who lives in this house with you that made a baby with you. You know? So there was that whole thing happening too. This like, we got to kind of like slow our roll on us being almost twin-like obsessed with each other. And it was being slowed by the fact that our careers were going in different directions. We just didn't really know it yet or really even conceive that it would or could happen. So basically, I lost that opportunity. That movie went away.
You did not get to make
We
this
did
movie.
not make that movie.
You have talked about that period as conscious uncoupling.
Yes.
A term I first learned from Gwyneth Paltrow when she was splitting up from Chris Martin. Do you use that term like earnestly when you think about that?
Yeah, it's gross. It's a gross term, but I use it earnestly because that's what it was. It was a 14-year process, which coincides with the last original movie that I wrote and directed with Mark to the writing and directing of the Baltimorons.
So we're
it
right
took
at
14 fucking years. That's a pretty goddamn conscious uncoupling. Look, Mark is critical to my life, and I did not want to mess up anything about our personal relationship, and he didn't either. And so we were very careful with each other. And the fact of the matter is, it just took 14 fucking years for us to figure out that Mark didn't really want to direct movies, and that was actually everything that I wanted to do.
Shopping and planning for groceries really can be simple and stress-free. Imagine having your weekly cart filled for you with personalized picks and shipped right to your door. This can be yours with Hungry Root. Look, Hungry Root solves two problems for you. It puts together a grocery list with an assortment of recipes and ingredients, along with snacks that adhere to your preferences, but will keep you from getting bored. And then it all comes to your house. No store pickup, no figuring out how to fit in a grocery run between everything else. You can fill your cart with personalized selections after you take a quick quiz with their smart cart technology that recommends groceries tailored to your needs. Hungry Root even helps you save by reducing food waste and avoiding impulse grocery buys. Hungry Root holds all its food to high standards and sources top quality meat and seafood with no hormones or antibiotics. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/DSM and use code DSM. That's hungryroot.com/DSM, code DSM, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/DSM, code DSM. Maybe you, like me, like to hear other people's stories about how they've shaped the direction of their lives. That's what the Life Kit podcast from NPR is here to do. If you are looking to move with more intention or just need thoughtful guidance on living better, Life Kit delivers strategies to help you make meaningful, sustainable change. They tackle things like relationships, finances, parenting, your career. You will hear real stories, relevant insights, and clear takeaways to help you meet those large and small decision-making moments with confidence and more clarity. Life Kit is not just another podcast about self-improvement. It's about understanding how to live a little better, starting right now. Listen now to the Life Kit podcast from NPR. Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what romance you're into, you can't be pinned down. Unless you want to be. You can find a book boyfriend in the city or another on the hockey field, or if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Whether you are new to audiobooks or a longtime listener, the Audible app makes it easy to get lost in a romance. Like for me, I have this track record of forgetting to bring my book with me and then being bummed when I find myself mindlessly scrolling instead of reading. The Audible app saves me from this because it's right there on my phone, so I can dig right back into my book. And here's a recommendation if you need one. It's called The Ministry of Time by Callie Ann Bradley. I'm about halfway through. This is like a science fiction-y romance with characters that are intricately rendered and real feeling, and it's sexy with a will they, won't they plot line that keeps me pulled in. It's about time travel, and the protagonist is a time travel caseworker of sorts who is helping a 19th century explorer get his head around contemporary London. If you're new to romance, this is a good entry point. It was a best book of the year from NPR, Vanity Fair, Vox, and former President Barack Obama. On Audible, you can listen to modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest Romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, and Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. Plus, Audible has all the really steamy stuff, too. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/DSM. That's audible.com/DSM. This is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate. I'm Anna Sale. After Jay Duplass realized he wasn't going to be able to make the movie he wanted to make, his luck started to turn around a little. He started writing a web series for his best friend from high school, Steve Zissou, which turned into an HBO show called Togetherness. And Mark actually came on board with that project as an actor, writer, and director. It wasn't movie making, but it definitely put some wind back in Jay's sails.
All these accidental things happened. I got Togetherness, HBO bought it. I accidentally became an actor on the television program Transparent that was supposed to be a web series on the website called Amazon where we were buying our toilet paper. Yeah. That's what it was at the time, and that won a Golden Globe 6 months later. But the truth is that it took about 7 years when I realized, okay, I need to start writing some scripts on my own. And I started that, but the pandemic hit.
Uh-huh.
Independent films became almost impossible to make,
Yeah,
especially
collapsed.
something of the variety of the Baltimorons. A COVID budget would have been more expensive than the whole budget of the movie, you know?
Uh-huh.
And then the pandemic ended, and I was like, okay, I got some scripts, let's go. And then the strikes started. And so when I thought I had just, after 7 years, was going to pick back up and go back up, it kept going down. And that is the context for the creating of the Baltimorons, you know, characters who felt like they're going to die with their music and their magic still inside of them, and that maybe it's over for them. That's exactly where I was in, you know, summer of 2023.
Summer of 2023. So I'm just kind of thinking about the timeline you've laid out. So 7 years in, you're like in your mid 40s, you're like 45, 46 when you think you're due for things to start picking back up. And then instead you're just keep hitting snags and stalls.
Pandemic, strikes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, your brother is on a show with Jennifer Aniston on Apple, and
he's on the show.
Did you were you able to not direct some of your frustrations about where your career was artistically at him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever feel like, oh, this is Mark's fault or something. You know what I mean? I was just mostly just trying to figure out what was happening, why it was happening, and what I needed to do, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of it was I needed to start acting as an individual and not as a team. But, you know, I kind of come up with that whole thing of a team, you know? And Transparent, becoming an actor accidentally, started helping with that. It was like, it was only me out there on camera acting, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And there was a lot of fucking fear that if I make a movie without Mark and it sucks, everybody's going to be like, oh, God, Mark was the special sauce, you know? Nobody wants to be, you know, the person who breaks off from Fleetwood Mac and makes a shitty solo album. You know what I'm saying?
So that fear, I mean, the movie you write is about the main character has gotten sober and doesn't know if he can still make magic as a performer.
Yeah.
And so for you...
Yeah, he's at his lowest point. I mean, you know, this is based in Michael's origin story. It's like, you know, Michael got fired and tried to kill himself. And he told me that it failed because the belt broke because he was holding a little too much holiday weight. Which makes the screenplay. Which makes the screenplay, and when he said that to me, I was like, that's a movie. That is a movie.
And you have this meta narrative of like, can I make this movie without my brother and have it work?
Yeah,
like that's
and have it be great.
Part of the stakes for you. Oh, not just have it work.
No, it's got to be great. I mean, it's got to be great. Yeah, I mean, you want it to work for sure. I mean, making a movie that works is incredibly difficult, you know, but at this point, you know, we're fighting against TikTok, so this movie needs to be great, you know, because I'm also making a movie without famous people.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. I just want to make sure I'm tracking it all. So you have these, when you are figuring out how to be an individual, like, did you spend your time in a different way when you were like, here's how I'm going to approach this story, maybe, if I'm not doing it with my brother? Like, did you, I'm from a big family. I'm one of 5 daughters. And I can remember a time in my early 30s where I realized I'm not comfortable when it's quiet. I wasn't comfortable. Exactly. It wasn't familiar. I did not know what to do.
Because you grew up in noise. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what did you change to start figuring out how to make your own stuff?
I had to learn how to write the first draft of a screenplay. Because Mark would always write the first draft. He's the best first draft writer I've ever witnessed by far. So he and I would come up with a story orally, and then he'd go away for a fucking week and come back with a banger, you know? And I would often write a lot of subsequent drafts because Mark is, like I said, 1,000-foot view guy.
He gets it out on the page, and you're like, let's
hey,
do the revisions. Yeah.
If you want to fix it up, go ahead, but I'm ready to roll now, you know? And I'm like, I need about 22 more drafts, you know? But I mean, dude, writing the first draft is the hardest by far. And I would say it takes me about 4 or 5 drafts to get to Mark's first draft, the quality of Mark's first draft. And it is no fun. Because that's getting the movie to where it works, the screenplay to where it works. Mark, his first draft works. So that was a big struggle for me, is like struggling with my own feelings of maybe not being like a full-fledged screenwriter, you know? Fears of that and, you know, frustrations about how long it's taking and, you know, trying to keep the big fears at bay. Like this, I'm going down a 3-year road that might just prove that like Mark's a great artist and I'm not.
It's interesting to me that one of the other themes of this movie, you've talked a lot here and in other interviews about your perfectionism. Like you want to make great art. This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not looking to just entertain audiences. You're trying to make something lasting.
Yeah.
And this film is about improv. It's about flow. It's about letting go.
It's about not being perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's as you were grueling over draft 4 or 5 and figuring out what your relationship was to imperfection, like how did you think about that?
You know, we kind of greenlit this movie in after two drafts, maybe 3 drafts. I mean, I kept writing while we were shooting, but I didn't want to shoot this movie this soon, but we shot it 2 weeks after the strikes ended, and we needed to be on the ground in Baltimore during Christmas because we couldn't afford those goddamn Christmas lights unless they were there. Straight up, that's how we made this movie when we made this movie.
Schedule around for Baltimore neighborhoods.
100%.
Christmas decorating.
100 fucking percent.
Okay, so I just asked you about perfectionism, and you said I made this movie before it was really ready to be shot.
I did.
That's how you answered that question.
And Michael and my brother forced me into it.
Do you think they pushed you to make a healthy decision?
Yeah, I think they did. And I knew that it was probably the case, but I was also aware that you can fail, and luckily we didn't. You know. But I knew I could. I don't know. I didn't know if I could survive a failed movie at this point in my life.
Can I ask you about? I'm turning 45 this week, so I am thinking a lot about just like the metrics for success, what I set out for myself as a young person, and then how I want to redefine them as I get in later middle age. And when you say failure. Yeah. Like, what was the fear? Like, what?
You make a bad movie that costs a lot of money that nobody wants to see and nobody buys.
And then you don't get to make more?
Yeah.
Or just like making a bad movie?
Well, it's both. It's both. But I mean, you know, when you spend a lot of money and it fails objectively, you know, I mean, there's a lot of definitions for failure, but like, I think it's pretty clear. You spend several $100,000 on a movie, and it doesn't go to festivals that matter, and it doesn't sell, and the people that give you that big chunk of money, who might actually be your brother and yourself, you might not be making any more movies after that. You know, and I've failed at it before. You know, our first movies failed. They sucked, and nothing happened with them. And it's devastating. And it is very hard to make another movie, to get the gumption, unless you're a sociopath, to make another movie, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. If you're not a sociopath, the tenderness that gets like, the just like how you could be ravaged after something not coming
absolutely
together.
Ravaged. And, you know, it's just, but, you know, Michael and Mark were both convinced that I was going to make a very good movie.
Are you proud of it?
Yeah, I'm astoundingly proud of it.
Can you tell me like a scene when you were shooting?
I think it might be the best movie I've ever made.
I really love it. Tell me when you were shooting on set and you got something in the can and you're like, this, yes. Like what's a moment?
Non-stop.
Oh.
Non-fucking stop. It happened, and that's very rare.
So this episode is all about the magic of the movies. Death, Sex, and Money producer Cameron Drews made this episode, and I want you to know he has a very impressive movie-watching regimen in his life. Cameron, you still actually leave the house to watch movies, right?
I do. Once or twice or 3 or 4 times a week.
Wait, 3 or 4 times a week. How and why do you go to movies quite so often?
Well, going to movies is pretty expensive, as a lot of people know. Like I am not dishing out, you know, $17, $18, $20 per movie.
Oh, what's your secret?
So there are a lot of subscription services that you can use. I have 3 of them at the moment because I live in New York City and there's so many movie theaters, and the main one I go to is Alamo Drafthouse, which is a big chain, and I pay a monthly fee and I can see basically 1 movie a day, and it costs me like a $2 service fee on top of my monthly fee.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like a Netflix or HBO Max subscription, but it's one that makes you go out the door and be in public and enjoy movies with other people.
Exactly.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And why do you find that you want so many movies in your life?
Well, one of the reasons is basically what you just mentioned. It's a way to get out of the house and off the internet while still doing like a pretty lazy activity. You know, you're just sitting there, but you're a patron of the arts.
Well, and as somebody who benefits from your incredibly sort of, I don't know, you just have a wide cultural appetite as a result of this practice. I thank you for doing it, and I think it's great. Cameron, you are also at Death, Sex, and Money what we call the czar of our Slate Plus episodes, which are these special drops that we make for Slate Plus members. And for that project, you also have a question for the people. What is your question for them?
I do. We've been cooking up this idea that I think listeners will be excited about. I hope you will be excited about too. I'm not sure, but the idea is we want to invite listeners to ask you whatever they want to ask you. It could be about how we make the show, how you prep for the show, or it can be about your life outside of Death, Sex, and Money. We're leaving it very open-ended.
And I will not see these questions that come in ahead of time as our plan.
Yeah.
So you really can ask anything. I might not answer all of your questions, but be bold. If your call is to ask me anything, where do the people send their questions for me for this Slate Plus episode?
They can send their questions to deathsexmoney@slate.com. I would encourage them to put something in the subject line that indicates that this is for the Ask Anna Anything Slate Plus episode, just so Anna knows not to snoop around in there beforehand.
Ask Anna Anything. AAA in the subject line. Remember, you can get these special Slate Plus conversations that Cameron leads us on by joining Slate Plus. When you do that, you support the work of people like Cameron, like Zoe, like Andrew, like Daisy, our team. Please do that. You can sign up on the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or go to slate.com/DSM Plus. And on our next episode, you will hear journalist Megan Greenwell on her excellent new book about private equity and the people in our economy affected by it. Starting with the very basics that private equity buyouts usually involve a lot of debt, but it's debt that the private equity guys don't actually owe themselves.
There's a tremendous amount of debt involved in any leveraged buyout, and the debt is assigned not to the private equity firm that has decided to take out those loans, but only to the portfolio company. Until private equity blew up my life, I didn't know these basic facts either. And that was what made me want to do this project, is I don't think anybody really understands that. And that's very much by design.
This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Here's what happens when you go to Saks.com and browse around a little bit. You very quickly get a sense of what is happening in fashion. It's basically like walking the streets of the most fashionable block in New York City without leaving my house. For instance, maybe you have been wondering what is happening with jeans right now and what is my jeans personality. Well, you can go to Saks.com, just go to the clothing vertical, scroll down to where it says jeans, click on that, and then there it is, all of these different jean silhouettes. The barrel silhouette, wide leg, high-rise, straight leg jean, something called the half-pipe ankle jean from Mother. There's Rag & Bone, Good American, Cynthia Rowley, Frame, designers and brands I know, and ones that I'm glad I'm discovering. There is so much to explore at Saks.com based on your personal style and what you are looking for. So this fall, whether you're going to try out the latest fashion trends or looking to curate a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. And listen to this. They have in-store stylists there to guide and inspire you, helping you find pieces that fit every aspect of your lifestyle. Or if you prefer online shopping, Saks.com offers a curated selection tailored to your taste, from new arrivals by your favorite designers to stylish pieces for your everyday needs. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
When I saw J. Duplass's new movie, The Baltimorons, I paid extra attention to the directing. You could really see that when the main character Cliff smiles, the camera lingers to catch this second smile when Cliff curls up the corners of his nose. You notice that Dee Dee the dentist, who is curt and in a hurry at first, starts to have the camera linger on her face more. And you notice what a beautiful woman she is. And there are these wide shots of Baltimore neighborhoods rooting this whole story in place. Every camera angle, every choice about pacing, a decision about tone, pulling you between sincerity and comedy.
Constantly nudging for more and knowing that, like, if one major scene fails, this movie just goes from an A+ to a B-, you know? I mean, it is fucking crazy directing movies. That's why Mark doesn't really want to do it, you know? It's torture.
Are you pleasant to be around when you're shooting? It sounds like
I am.
Not.
I'm pleasant to be around, and most people will say that, except for my wife and myself. You know, I'm not pleasant to myself. And, you know, my wife always says, she's like, I like actor Jay better than director Jay, you know?
Uh-huh. Oh, that's interesting.
You know, Mark says it best. Being a director is like look, being an actor is like being the drunk uncle who shows up at Christmas with Oreos and wins the fucking day, you know? And being a director is like being a fucking single mother who raises her child to fruition and then beyond their 20s and is just beat to hell for it all.
Uh-huh.
You know,
a lot
it's
of
like,
thankless work. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nobody's coming up to you after you direct something and like, great directing. You know what I mean? That only happens like 3 years later if you like win a festival. Then they go, great directing. Here's an award, you know? You don't get any of that on the day. It's okay, but you know, it is a thankless job, and it is like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, you know? It is a very rewarding creative experience, just like parenting is. But parenting's the hardest thing you'll ever do, and directing is by far the hardest thing anyone will ever do on set. And it's evidenced by the fact that you have all these actors who think they want to direct, and then they go direct a movie, and they're like, I thought because I was the lead actor in a few things that directing was just going to be like 20% more. It's like, no, it's 20 times the work. 20 times the work. Maybe more. 20 times the work than being a lead actor is directing, because I've done both.
When you were aware, like making this film,
sounding very obnoxious, but I'm going to keep rolling.
No, it's I feel like the stakes that you had built up for yourself about this film.
Yeah.
And
almost impossible to meet.
Yeah. Well, but I'm curious if you felt like you had so much riding on this with your own sense of who you are, with your own professional ambitions. Tell me about the choice to cast two lead people who aren't well known in Hollywood. Like, why not go for names?
That's a great question. Number one, if you're going to cast famous people, you need a bunch of money. And you're going to have to also schedule it properly. All movie stars now do tons of TV all year, and nobody's available for a tiny movie, you know? And I just knew I needed to do what I did with The Puffy Chair, our first movie, which is like take real people and back their life stories into a movie, which is essentially what The Puffy Chair was, you know, a fictionalized version of like where Mark and I were. You're in your mid-20s, and on Monday you think you're going to marry this person, and on Tuesday you can't wait to get this person out of your goddamn house. Little did I know that is what marriage is. Doesn't change just because you have a ceremony. But this is all to say that I needed to go back to what I absolutely knew. And there's something about the potential energy of Michael Strassner and Liz Larsen at those moments. You know, Michael Strassner being what I saw as a movie star who has not been given the platform to be a movie star, you know, super funny, super winning, emotionally available, can go as dark as you want to go, hardworking, willing to produce the movie with me, write the movie with me, give up his life story. Liz Larsen, when I met with her, all I'd done is seen her in the Transparent musical. She was screaming and singing loudly and being wildly funny on stage. She was just stunningly inspiring. I had no idea if she could like be a normal person, a dentist who was pissed off, you know.
She can. Yeah.
But I met with her and she told me things about her life, you know, essentially that are contained in the movie now, which are essentially becoming invisible when she turned 50. And so I was like, if you're okay, I'm going to tap into that. You know, that's the brilliance of being able to use people who are in their lives at a moment where this is going to express a lot of potential, a lot of untapped, pent-up energy.
All around the same time, I went through menopause. Conway dumped me for a much younger woman, and I became a grandmother. Boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
It's a whole lot of cabbage for one stew.
I don't even know who the fuck I am anymore.
It's interesting to me what you just described, because there are many people who have worked in Hollywood who have looked at how the structural fundamentals of movie making have completely transformed. And it's bigger than one person's ability to get around it.
It is.
And you looked at it and you said, the way this feels so terrible to me that the only thing I know how to do is to go back to what I did. Like, I want to go back to the way I made movies.
Yeah, handmade art.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it wasn't as small as the puffy chair. You know, we had about 15 people on the ground in Baltimore. But, I mean, puffy chair was like 4, you know? But I ended up operating camera a lot on Baltimorons because our DP got COVID and a bunch of other people got COVID. And I was just give me the fucking camera. Let's go.
Huh.
This will not stop. This cannot be stopped, you know? So it did, in the end, like, come down to me shooting it.
Your wife is a social worker, right?
Yes, that's her trade.
Uh-huh.
A hospital social worker.
I mean, do you, when you talk about what makes you do what you do, like, do you have similar, like, how does she talk to you about, do you understand what drives her in her work? Is there a sense of mission that's similar to yours, very clear sense of mission?
She's really like I mean, I would just say that, like, she's way more pragmatic and wants to serve in every way, you know? This is going to sound hilarious and she would make fun of me for this, but I also want to serve, but only in one way, and that's with art.
Uh-huh.
I will say, you know, this telling other people's story thing that I've been doing, and that I'm really opening up to more and more now, telling Michael's story and serving him and, like, putting him on a platform and saying, hey, world, look at this special, brilliant being, you know, Liz Larsen. Hey, world, don't sleep on this magical person. That is where the confidence comes from that overcomes all of those ego fears. Making a movie for the first time in 14 years and without my brother is like, I believe in Michael. I believe in Liz. Let's fucking go, you know? So I think Jen and I have that in common.
Well, and you all have been together since the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
So she's
2001.
been on this ride with you.
Yes.
For a long way.
Forever. And from abject failure, she was there during abject failure times. I mean, I was a broke artist in South Austin making $15,000 a year and working 80 hours a week on making art that sucked at the time, you know?
What did she like about you back then?
You really want to know? She said, You're like a woman in a man's body.
Oh, what a compliment.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I mean, she was dating women exclusively at the time, so she was both confused and titillated, I believe.
Does that feel true to you? Do you feel like you're in touch with your feminine side?
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, like my best friends are women, and the ones who are men are like me. So, you know, they're like Michael, you know?
Yeah.
They're real, like, we just talk about our feelings and shit and cry and, you know, go out on dates together.
Jay's description of himself here reminded me of one of his recent acting gigs. He's on the Hulu series Dying for Sex, which is based on a true story and a podcast series about a woman diagnosed with terminal cancer. Michelle Williams plays her. and shows her deciding how her remaining days will be best spent, having lots of sex. Duplass plays her husband, who is a lot more interested in managing her care than indulging these fantasies.
I called the hospital. They want you to meet with a palliative care social worker after our appointment with the doctor tomorrow, just to help with some of these big emotions you're having.
You remember when you used to fuck me?
My priority right now is keeping you alive as long as possible, which means no caffeine, no sugar, no green drink. We're gonna start a food diary. We're gonna start a bedtime. Molly, do you not want to live longer?
I want to blow you.
It's somebody who is performing the ideas of straight male feminist advocacy, but for his own feeling of self-worth, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we all know if we've seen that show is that it wasn't about Molly, you know? Maybe he could have gotten lucky and landed with somebody who just wanted that, but Molly needed much, much more. And, you know, I think it is a very common male thing to want to be praised for doing a good job or whatever, you know? And guys get real fixated on it. I do, you know? But that's not what you're really doing in a marriage if you're doing it right, you know? You're really just being present with somebody and going into the mysticism of what's being asked, you know.
Wait, what do you mean by that? The mysticism of what's being asked?
There's like conscious ideas of what a marriage is and what a relationship is or should be. And then there's like the surrender to the irrationality of what people are and what people need. And I see mysticism in general. I'm better at it with art making, which is like, you don't really know what's best. We all know, if we made enough art, that the mistakes are our greatest pathways to brand new, unexplored, unenvisioned things that are better than what you even could have imagined. And the openness to that is, I guess, where real love is and where real magic is.
Your kids now are teenagers, right?
They are.
So they are past the age you were when you discovered Raising Arizona.
They are.
From what you've observed from teens in your life, do they care about movies?
My son doesn't care about movies at all. My daughter cares about Marvel movies a lot. So we have a feud in our family.
Does it make you feel like you are, I say this I make a podcast that doesn't have video. So sometimes I think I'm making something that is named for a delivery method that is like going out of fashion. I think like, oh, I make compact discs.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like, do you feel that you are deeply emotionally invested in making something in a particular style that 20 years from now, like, people just aren't going to care?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that for sure. You know, I think it will always live and exist. You know, I think it's a very good form, but I know that it's a lot longer than most people want to sit down for nowadays. And I look at theater and I'm like, my friends who are doing off-Broadway stuff, they're doing it for love. They're losing money doing it. They get paid, but, they're getting paid sometimes $200 a day, and they live in New York. Like, that doesn't pay the bills. You got to get a TV spot stat if you're going to go off and do a play for 3 months,
Huh.
So I think it might end up a little bit like that. But AI is coming around too, and it's going to get cheaper. So that's a whole thing that nobody wants to talk about.
The movie making will get cheaper?
Yeah, it will get cheaper.
Uh-huh.
Which that's not a popular thing to say right now.
Yeah, fewer people will have to have jobs to do it.
Fewer people will get jobs. But that's also not true. I had my head blown open recently because I have a movie that cost $12 million. And boy, is it hard to make an original movie for $12 million right now, right? And I was recently told by somebody who's trying to get me to start looking at AI. I told them the story and they were like, if you use AI, that movie will cost $6 million. And if you make that movie, now you have to say that AI gave people jobs. Because that movie
otherwise
doesn't
the movie
exist.
wouldn't happen.
Movie doesn't exist without AI. As far as my experience has told me, and I'm still fighting for that. But there may come a day in the next 2 or 3 years where I'm like, yeah, I want to make this movie. And it wouldn't be like very invasive AI. It would be like, the big wide shots are AI. The really complicated moves are AI. But when I have actors in a room, we're shooting a movie,
Would the Christmas lights in Baltimore be AI, or would you still have
100%. Christmas lights in Baltimore would be AI in 3 years, and it would be very cheap, And then you could shoot it in February and have a little bit more time to prepare yourself for getting on the ground. So in that case, look, I mean, this is all just to say that I have not seen anybody say this publicly yet, but I know of a situation in my own life where AI might provide 100 people with jobs.
Uh-huh. So you're saying the comparison is not AI generated movie making versus movie making as you've known it. It's AI generated movie making versus a screenplay that sits on a pile and the movie never gets made.
Which is better than a screenplay sitting on a pile, and I think no one would argue with that.
I think some people would probably argue.
They probably would, but then you gotta come back to that daring greatly quote that Brene Brown bandies about, which is like, are you making it? Or are you talking about making it or complaining about people making it? Because it's the people who make it that actually are in the arena, But honestly, I just want to make art in this form because I love it so much. And I love sharing it with strangers in a dark room.
That's Jay Duplass. His new movie, which he directed and co-wrote with Michael Strassner, is called The Baltimorons. It's in theaters across the country. And you, too, can enjoy Michael Strassner on Instagram. Find him at Strass, S-T-R-S-S, Ola, H-O-L-A. This episode was produced by Cameron Drews and Daisy Rosario. The rest of the Death, Sex, and Money show team includes Andrew Dunn and Zoe Azoulay. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer. Mia Lobel is executive producer of Slate Podcast, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. You can support this team and the production of our show by joining our membership program, Slate Plus. You get bonus episodes of our show and other Slate shows like Decoder Ring and How To, and you can also listen to all of Slate's podcasts ad-free. Subscribe directly from the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or just go to slate.com/DSM Plus to get access wherever you listen. Our theme music is by the Reverend John DeLure and Steve Lewis. And if you are new to our show, welcome. We're glad you're here. Find us and follow us on Instagram at Death, Sex, Money. I write a weekly newsletter. You can subscribe to that at annasale.substack.com. And you can reach us anytime with voice memos, pep talks, questions, critiques, story ideas. Our email address is deathsexmoney@slate.com. We love hearing from you. I did wonder, as I talked to Jay Duplass, how much his desire to make perfect art was rooted in not just wanting to make something beautiful, but to earn a Hollywood fortune. And then he told me this.
I mean, Mark said it recently. I can't remember what he said it on, but people have been quoting it back to me that he said about me. He was like, if Jay is offered 2 roles and one of them pays $200,000 and the other one pays $10,000, and the one that pays $10,000 is a 9 out of 10 creatively, and the one that pays $200,000 is a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 creatively, he's going to take the $10,000 role, and that's true.
It's funny to have a brother relationship where people quote things to you that your brother said in a public forum.
It's super weird, yeah. I can't watch all the podcasts Mark does. Jesus Lord, you know? He did this, right?
He did, yeah. We had a great conversation, yeah.
I can't keep up with it. There's no fucking way.
I'm Anna Sale, and this is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Here's what happens when you go to Saks.com and browse around a little bit. You very quickly get a sense of what is happening in fashion. It's basically like walking the streets of the most fashionable block in New York City without leaving my house. For instance, maybe you have been wondering what is happening with jeans right now and what is my jeans personality. Well, you can go to Saks.com, just go to the clothing vertical, scroll down to where it says jeans, click on that, and then there it is, all of these different jean silhouettes. The barrel silhouette, wide leg, high-rise, straight leg jean, something called the half-pipe ankle jean from Mother. There's Rag & Bone, Good American, Cynthia Rowley, Frame, designers and brands I know, and ones that I'm glad I'm discovering. There is so much to explore at Saks.com based on your personal style and what you are looking for. So this fall, whether you're going to try out the latest fashion trends or looking to curate a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. And listen to this. They have in-store stylists there to guide and inspire you, helping you find pieces that fit every aspect of your lifestyle. Or if you prefer online shopping, Saks.com offers a curated selection tailored to your taste, from new arrivals by your favorite designers to stylish pieces for your everyday needs. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day.
Listen. That's the sound of the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. The sound of captivating electric performance, dynamic drive, and the quiet confidence of ultra-smooth handling. The elevated interior reminds you this is more than an EV. This is electric performance redefined. The fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron.